What a difference 163 years makes, huh? We are on the west bank of the mighty Sacramento River. We're on West Sacramento, looking back at Old Sacramento. Come on down to the river walk here in West Sacramento. This affords you a great glimpse of Sacramento and gives you the closest idea of what the city might have looked like when it established to benefit from the gold rush. The previous video, about a week before, we had come down to the river to show you how an atmospheric river storm, 2, maybe 3 days of rain, Sacramento didn't even get the worst of it, nevertheless swelled the river 10 feet. And since then, no rain. In fact, it's warm enough even as the sun's coming down to be shirt sleeve weather, and the water has gone back down in its banks and lost almost all that 10 feet. But that is a big difference from what happened December 9th, 1861, when it started to rain. Except it didn't rain 2, maybe 3 days, or even 10 days, or 20 days, or even 30 days. It had rained 40 or more days. The accounts differ between 43 and 45 days of rain. Now imagine what a storm of that kind had done to the city and the region. It came, swelled the rivers, and overflowed the banks, and Sacramento was sitting in flood for the entire winter of 1862. Weather experts now describe that atmospheric river storm as being the equivalent of 10 Mississippi rivers of moisture descending on California and spreading across the Rockies, heading east. We're down here, by the way, watching the sea lions, which I've never seen in the fall, but so much rain fell during that 1861-62 flood that it not only flooded Sacramento, but formed the Central Valley into a single lake, joining the Sacramento Valley to the north with the Southern Joaquin Valley to the south. That lake was 300 miles long, between 20 and 60 miles wide in some places, and 35 feet deep, just from rain. A lake that flood scientists have been starting to warn us about because that great storm appears to happen roughly every 200 years, and so that storm's coming probably in the next couple of generations, and so they're doing their best to warn us and telling government officials that they should start planning for the eventuality of a flood of that kind. Now we moved just a bit upriver to respond to a great question we got last week about levees. I failed to define them. Levees are human-built walls, usually of earth, built to parallel the river. We're standing on one on this side in West Sacramento, and you can see the levee on the other side. And they are designed to keep the river in its course, keep it from spilling over its bank. Sacramento had levees almost from the start. The 1850 flood prompted the city to build low levees. They kept building them and raising them higher and higher, just never got them quite high enough to defeat each succeeding flood. The ones that were built following the 1861-62 flood were set at 22 feet 9 inches. The answer still eludes us why they weren't 23 feet or 22 feet. But they were 22 feet 9 inches. Now the irony of that is the 1861-62 flood crested above that height. Didn't stay at that height, but it crested and would have overtopped that final levee height. Oh, one additional factor that made the 1861-62 flood so bad for Sacramento that thankfully we are not faced with now was hydraulic mining. The idea of washing away entire hillsides to look for ancient riverbeds that could contain gold. And so those hillsides washed away by huge water cannons, washed into the watersheds, into the creeks and into the rivers, choking those rivers and raising the water level and unleashing the floods, making it so much worse for Sacramento and the valley.